Welcome back to episode number 2 of the Born to Chat Shit podcast. I hope everyone is well, and we want to say first of all thank you so much for all the support on the first podcast, whether you listen to it on Spotify, Apple Playlist, or even watch it on YouTube. I think we had like 2,500 views in the first sort of couple of days, so we just want to say thank you first of all for the love and support on the podcast. In today's podcast we're going to talk about relationships and bodybuilding. And you guys are giving us scenarios as well, which we're going to read out. And hopefully this podcast will give you a little bit more of an insight on how to manage bodybuilding in a relationship when it comes to maybe your partner not understanding, maybe you committing too much to bodybuilding, maybe even just, you know, learning a little bit more that you can improve upon in your own relationship as well. So let's start off with Vicky. How are you?
I am good. I'm very well, actually. Obviously last week I gave a little bit of an update on my diet, so I feel like I'm going to touch upon that because I've had a few people message me surrounding it, just like, oh, good luck on your diet and all of that, which is really nice. But had my blood test done last week, which was interesting. First things first, I am absolutely petrified to get my bloods done. I have assisted in surgeries. I've obviously done bloods on people practically my entire adult life. But when it comes to me, I literally just get so faint. Anyway, was a big girl, got it done, and got my results back, which kind of highlighted to me what I was expecting. They didn't come back the best. I am estrogen dominant, I am magnesium deficient, I've got too much vitamin D, which is probably why my magnesium is pretty low. My liver markers are a little bit off, and I've also got PCOS. So it explains quite a lot why I wasn't losing in scale weight. And maybe I'll do like a separate episode on this about female health and all of those things, female markers, etc. Which initially was actually really hard for me to hear because I was thinking, oh, I've got so many goals next year that I really want to achieve, and I thought, fuck, I'm not going to be able to do that now. But then I was like, right, wipe your tears, girl. You can only do one thing, and that's move forward with the cards that you dealt with. So decided to obviously supplement the things that I need to, have a little bit of a different approach when it comes to my diet, and my body is responding. Even though it's slow, I need to appreciate, like George keeps on reminding me, like it's still responding. Yeah, okay, the drops aren't big, but they are still drops, and I'll take that as a win. So after I changed my mindset a little bit, I did find myself feel a little bit better. Training is still good. I'm looking better. I'm looking more like a wellness girl. Better. Yeah, so I'm like, hey, come on. Very, very happy about that. But that's pretty much me this week. I don't think anything else has happened.
So how much you lost this week on average?
0.5 of a kilo, just over 0.6 of a kilo. Yeah,
so it's basically pretty much 1% of your scale weight that you've lost this week so far, which is fucking good when you think about it. And this is what I always say is that, you know, you can look at your day-to-day scale weight, but it always is going to fluctuate on a day-to-day basis. But when you actually look at your average, and if your average, for example, in your case, 0.6 down, okay, you're 66 kilos right now, that's 1% of your scale weight. And that's a huge amount to be losing in the space of 1 week. When you think about it, if you keep losing 1%, 1%, 1% over 8 weeks, it's 8% of your scale weight. That's a lot of weight to lose, you know, off someone's physique.
I want more.
I know, but there's never good. This is a problem with Vicky. It's kind of like she'll moan when she doesn't lose weight, okay, when her average stays the same. But when she actually starts losing consistent amount every single week,
it's like different.
It's something else that
I feel like girls can relate to this though, because I don't have a boob job, as an FYI, as you can probably tell from my pictures. And when I'm in my off season, yeah, okay, like I'm holding a bit of chunk everywhere, but I've got boobs and I've got a bum, and now I'm losing weight and I'm losing both of them. So I'm now like, okay, well, I've lost scale weight, but I don't have any boobs now. So
it's like what Vicky said to me earlier. She was like, the other day, she was like, I'm dying to lose weight. She loses weight and she's like, oh, my glutes are smaller and my tits are smaller. And I'm thinking like, there's no fucking winning here, is there? Like, there's just always going to be a...
But this is what relationships are about. I am allowed to complain and you are needing to listen to it.
Yes.
You need to listen to it. And that brings us very nicely into this topic. I'm allowed to moan. Sometimes I don't want a solution. I just want you to sit and listen and be like, baby girl, I've got you. That's all I need.
I know. I need to work on that, to be honest with you, because I'm just like, fuck's sake, like,
he's like,
you're losing
grow
weight.
up.
Come on, like, fucking hell. And this is where we start arguing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then this is where we fall out for a couple of hours, and then that's where we make up. So it's a bit like that. But yeah, anything else you want to touch upon in the week that you want to talk about or dive into a little bit more? Any other news?
No,
I'm not trying to hint, by the way, that there's more news.
I feel like you are, and I'm just like, I have a very short attention span and poor memory right now.
Yeah.
So maybe if I remember, I'll talk about it in the podcast. But for now, no. What about you, George?
Yeah. So I did my bloods at the same time as Vicky. Long overdue, to be honest with you, for our standards anyway. I kind of held off from doing it because
He doesn't listen to me.
I don't listen to Vicky, to be honest with you, and I now look at that and think I should listen to you a lot more when it comes to those sort of things. So
why are you smirking? For anyone that's listening to this, not watching the YouTube, he is smirking right now.
I'm smirking, and if you're watching the YouTube, I look like I've just come out of fucking American prison in my all orange look outfit. It's brilliant. I was wearing red last week, now I'm orange. What colour is it going to be next week, I wonder? But anyway, waffling on about colours and shit. No one wants to listen to that. Yeah, got my bloods done. Surprisingly, it wasn't painful because I get sweaty hands, you know, like a big deep breath in. I'm like, oh god, here we go, you know, is it going to be painful? Am I going to pass out? Because you've told me about stories about people passing out, and I'm like, is that ever going to be me? But it was actually quite smooth, it was quite easy, and it was done within like 30 seconds. Got a nice little sticker afterwards as well, which is cute. I got my results back, and I'll probably dive into this more in a YouTube video potentially, or Vicky will probably dive into it more than me, to be honest with you. Yeah. But long story short, I've been using I say prescribed TRT.
No, it's self-prescribed TRT that George got from Thailand. So it's pharmaceutical testosterone.
It's real shit. It's real testosterone. And long story short, it's brought me back to a range which I was very surprised at. Which I'll dive into in a YouTube video. So that sort of like thought, fucking hell, here we go. No wonder I've changed so much in a short period of time when it comes to my physique, because it's just changed like that, hasn't it, out of nowhere? But now it all makes sense. So we'll cover that, like I said. But yeah, it's kind of just like, okay, right, that's where we're at right now. Okay, cool, finishing up this diet. I think it's going to be super important because I'm someone who just wants to keep going. I think I said this last week, maybe. I just keep going. I want to keep pulling off more, but I'm pretty lean right now for my standards, and I'm like, I don't really need to go any further. I think this is the first week where I've started to see my training performance be a little bit 50-50. I took some physique shots the other day and I'm looking quite flat in comparison to the last couple of weeks. I'm just like, right, okay, it really isn't worth just keep going just to get leaner for the sake of it, in my opinion, when I've got goals of wanting to improve. So I'm going to bite the bullet at the end of this week and say, look, okay, we're going to start reversing. I know what's going to happen. I'll start reversing food. All of a sudden my scale weight's just going to drop. It's the usual Georgie boy scenario.
And again, you don't listen to me. And I was just like, George, this is the last week of the diet. You do not need to pull any more off. And you're like, no, I still want to lose a little bit more. And you know, telling George what to do doesn't actually work. But it doesn't work.
I know.
So what I actually do, and George, you don't realise this, is I use a little bit of reverse psychology with him.
You do.
So I'm like, oh, why don't you prep this year? Why don't we prep? Why don't we carry on the diet? And he's like, no, I'm going to pull back. And I'm like,
no. Yeah, I'm like, no. I can't. As much as I think, prep would be good, but I've got to, like, when I go into preps, it's like, okay, fucking prep is prep, you know, prep mentality. Right now, I'm not in that sort of prep mentality. I'm sure people who have listened to this and competed before understand like a prep mentality. For me, I take it too extreme. Like, I'm not going off plan. I'm fucking hitting everything to the T.
Yeah, but can I just ask you a question? When did you last go off plan?
Your birthday.
Okay.
Which was over a month ago now.
Yeah. So what's the difference?
I don't know.
Between your diet and a prep.
I don't know. I don't know. I just can't do it. I watch people online and they're going out like 2 weeks out and they're going out and fitting things into their macros at restaurants, and I'm thinking, no fucking way am I doing that. Not that close to the show. So yeah, it would send my head absolutely loopy if I was doing that. More stress than what it's worth. But yeah, diet's going to be wrapped up by the end of this week. We're going to then put Vicky's going to control all of that. The issue with me is I'm not coachable. I've realised that, because every coach that I've been with, I never fucking listen to them in the end. And I tell myself I'm going to listen to them, but I never do. And the issue with me is that a coach may put a program together for me, and I'm just like, you know, I'll start following it, then I'll start changing things about and start doing my own thing. That's the issue I've got. So Vicky's just going to deal with all my shit.
No, the question is, are you going to waste my time then?
No, I'm not going to.
So I'm going to put something together for you, and then...
Yeah, but I'm telling myself I'm going to change this time round. And that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, so, we'll see. We'll update you guys in a couple of weeks' time where we're probably going to be sat here having an argument because George is doing a bloody wellness split.
Week number 1 off season, haven't followed Vicky's plan at all. That's what's going to happen. But yeah, that's pretty much me. Weight's been coming, it's about 0.3 of a kilo down this week. I did lose a kilo on average last week, so it's going to slow down, unfortunately. But if I'm where I am by the end of this week, then my average is going to be so much better than what it is right now, because I've had a few higher days the last couple of days, but that's normal. But yeah, all good, all pretty sound. Now, do you want to dive into the main topic of today's YouTube video? No YouTube video? Podcast, YouTube video, whatever you want to fucking call it. And that is relationships and bodybuilding. Yeah. How do we start this?
I think the first thing that we want to say is we are not relationship experts, nor are we. Okay, well, George is a relationship expert, apparently.
I am, yeah, of course.
Interesting statement to make. So point number 2, we are going to try not to argue in this video. Yeah. Because the thing about us is we're so different. We are literally like, not only obviously am I going to say it from females' point of view, George is going to say it from males, but just our views on things are so different.
Yeah, they are.
And it'll be interesting to obviously, because I actually haven't seen the questions. So no, I haven't seen your questions. So it'll be interesting to see what people have kind of written down. And then the third thing is George's approach to giving advice is very irrational.
No, it's not.
No, it's good advice, but you're very like hot-headed, whereas I'm like, so let's try and see it from this point of view or that point of view. I would just say I have got like a more therapeutic way of giving advice.
Yeah, whereas
I'm like the friend that you need. You're just like the friend that you want.
Yeah, you need as well, to be honest. You need someone who's just going to be keeping it real. So
I keep it real though. It's just in a different way.
You do, but it's just like sort of beating around the bush as to what you should be saying.
No,
in my opinion.
Absolutely not.
So you can imagine there is going to be a bit of beef in this podcast. Should we start off with anything that we need to cover beforehand, or should we just dive straight into questions?
Yeah, well, we'll give a little bit of a background.
So
of ourselves as a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that.
Oh, great. Because the thing is, George wants me to do it because he can't remember.
Yeah, that's true.
Great, fantastic. So George and I have been together for around 2.5 years now.
Yep.
We started chatting back in 2022.
Yep.
And we literally went on a few dates before we started our prep together. And I remember this so well. There was so many people that was like, oh, this is not going to last because you're diving into prep really early on in the relationship, if I can get my words out eventually. And we did actually absolutely fine. Yeah, I feel like, obviously prep was hard, especially as a couple, but we did really, really well. And then we reverted out of the prep, went into an off season, as one does in bodybuilding. George started assistance. Things were very rocky between us at this time. George came off assistance. George went back on assistance. So I feel like we've literally gone through everything.
Yeah,
or like every scenario, not every scenario, but a lot of scenarios that you do encounter in bodybuilding.
Sure.
As a couple. And also the other aspect of this, we did have previous relationships before this one.
Yep.
And that was with non-gym goers. So my ex was a runner, your ex
didn't go to the gym at all.
Didn't go to the gym at all. So for anyone that's obviously in a relationship that's not like ours, because I can imagine like people look at it and think, oh, well, it's so easy for you to say, like we did have obviously they didn't work out.
Right, we're gonna throw fucking fists in a minute. I'll tell you, this is how it's gonna go and talk about exes and shit like that.
No, we won't.
No. I actually, funny enough, remember when we first got together, people saying it's not gonna work out because you was like a doctor, you was very well spoken, and then I'm the complete opposite. It was like, fuck shit, cunt, bollocks, your mum, fuck this. And it's just like, you know, those two are not gonna work out at all. But funny enough, it actually works really well.
Yeah.
Because I am still that fuck shit, your mum's a cunt and this and that, and you're just like the very like well spoken. Yeah.
Quiet.
Not all the time.
Until my Eastern European kicks in.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been through it all basically is what we're trying to say, and we've also experienced it with, you know, potentially, and a lot of questions that we've seen in the question box is people who are into bodybuilding and their partners don't actually train. So we've been there, we've done that, and we're here to give you some lovely, open, honest advice, but also, you know, actually make you think about what you actually want in your life as well, because I think this is, imagine we actually cause a breakup and something like that. That would be fucking hilarious.
But sometimes breakup turn out to be the best thing that could have happened to you.
Short-term pain, long-term gain. That's what you said, didn't it? Yeah. Rather than long-term pain.
Short-term gain.
Short-term gain.
Because you're not having to go through that heartbreak.
Yeah, absolutely. So should we go into questions first of all?
Yeah, go on. Is
there anything else you want to add? So we've got a few questions. Actually, we've got a fair amount of questions and a fair amount of scenarios as well. So thank you to everyone for sending them through. And we will always post on Instagram like a question box regarding the topics that we'll cover in each week. So obviously make sure that you follow us on Instagram and things like that.
I'm nervous.
Let's go for the first sort of question here is actually how to speak to someone in the gym without coming across as a creep. You can answer that. I know that's not about relationships, but that's the first one I read out, and I don't want to read another one now.
Okay, so it's going to be very person dependent, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, what is that girl's personality like? If someone comes up to me in the gym, as long as they're not like, oh, you're looking good, babe. Like, as long as they're not like that, I'm fine. The best thing I would say is ask them if they're using a machine, or like, just have a little icebreaker, have a little chat. What did you say is a good thing?
I swear I've seen you before. I swear I've seen you around somewhere. And they're like, no. I'm like, I swear I have, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's what you said to me.
Yeah.
And how many times have you used that before?
Never.
Lies. Lies. But yeah, I would just generally have like an icebreaker. Usually when guys approach me in the gym, it's like, oh, have you got many sets left? Not that I engage in it, but guys chat to me in the gym.
Yes, they do.
And then George looks over with his bald head. Like,
we'll fucking take them off, take their heads off, yeah.
And yeah, and then that way at least you've spoken to that person, and it's so much easier to engage in a conversation with them after. Yeah. And then every single time you see them in the gym, just say something different, just make it natural. I feel like the more you try to chat someone up or have like a chat up line, the more awkward it gets, and the more the girl's like, ugh. And also, don't say anything patronising. I know a few girls, this is a very common thing, a few girls don't like it when you're like, oh, well, should I take this weight off for you? Because they're like, I'm an independent woman. I'm like, yes, Sam, please pick it up.
Like trying to improve their form or something.
Oh yeah, don't improve, no,
your
that's
squat's
a no.
Shit, this is how you do it, you sluzzer.
No, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Just a generic conversation's good. Yeah, what's your advice?
My advice, just go up with confidence. Get what you want. Just go up. If you really want this person, you'll find a way. And if they don't want you, then go find someone else. That's as simple as that. Don't be weird. Don't be like looking at them in the gym like a pervert. A little bit of eye contact. Yeah, a little bit of eye contact, maybe a little bit of a smile. Just engage in something that you can sort of like relate to, or just make a scenario in the gym, for example. But just don't like start pushing it, because I see sometimes like there's a guy at the gym we train at, and he's just like really like pesters sort of girls in a way, and I'm just like, it's just way too much, way too much. So don't be doing that. That's all I would say. I don't think we need to cover it. That's not about relationships anyway, but we thought we'd answer that. I read that one out and thought, fucking hell, that's not even the fucking question that I'm meant to be asking.
Go on then.
So the typical ones at the moment is living with a non-bodybuilding partner and managing meals together. So what would be your advice on this then? So
I give this advice to my clients that I coach. The first approach that I would take is, if you're a meal like plan type person, then have your meals like 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 according to your meal plan, and then have a tracked evening meal. I always do that for my girls that are in relationships and they like actually having that evening meal with their partner. It's so easy to cook and distribute the food and know the macros without having to go off plan. Like, it's really, really easy. And when you keep meals basic and simple and have potatoes, chicken and whatever, you can make that in so many ways. Like beef mince potatoes can be made as beef mince potatoes. It can be like made as like cottage pie. It can be made as so many things. And I think people overcomplicate it in terms of, oh, well, if I'm gonna have an off plan meal, it needs to obviously be off plan and I can't track it. No, when I sort of like back at home with my parents between my 3rd and my 4th year of uni, because I went back home for a year, all I would do is, like, my mum would love to cook, and she was like, right, okay, I'm just going to cook for everyone and leave your ingredients separate so you can just track them. And it was easy. I could eat the same meals that they were eating, but I just had my own tracked meal. And I feel like that works the best, because there's that compromise. Okay, you're obviously spending time with your partner, you're giving back to them, they feel included in what you do, but also you don't go off plan and you still adhere to your goals. I think that's the best way to go about it. Yeah, I agree with the tracking, like having that sort of macro meal that you can sort of eat with your partner. I do the exact same with my clients as well, to be honest with you. As well as that, the big one is that, oh, my missus wants a cheat meal tonight and I might be going off plan and I'm a little bit feeling guilty about it. Like, why don't you suggest to her, let's make a meal at home together, or I will cook for you. And you cook, like, for example, a meal that is very macro friendly for you,
but also for her as well, you know, and that's actually you sort of like bonding and fucking, you know, getting along. That's one thing that I also say as well, is that, you know, just because, for example, you may be, you know, maybe going off plan, but you want to stick closely to your plan, then make something at home. What's stopping you from making, you know, like we do at home, we've made like a pad thai steak, minus the cookies that we have from Marks and Spencer's, by the way. They're so buttery. If you've never had Marks and Spencer's cookies, get yourself over there now and have a bite for me, because I haven't had them for like over 12 weeks. No.
Next week.
Yeah, maybe next week actually.
No, but you can't, because I'm still on diet.
Yeah, I won't do that. I won't do that. If I'm stopping the diet next week and Vicky's carrying on, but I'm not going to do that, because she, in my prep, she finished her diet prep earlier than me, and
by like 5 weeks.
And she didn't go off plan for about 5 weeks after that. So because she wanted to just like help me out, which I'm very grateful for, by the way. But at the same time, you know, I'm going to do the exact same for you anyway when it comes to that. But yeah, back to what I was saying. You know, like you can do these things and still stick to plan. A lot of people are like, yes, I can't do this, I can't do that, my missus is not going to stand. But at the same time, like, what's stopping you from doing that? There's nothing stopping you, you know? It's just always a harder option. It's the easy option is just going off plan, right? The harder option is actually deciding, right? So I always try and say to people, like, if the goal is big enough, you've just got to find a way of working around it. And as we know, there's fucking so many ways of working around things. Just people start using bullshit excuses. That's how I see it. So yeah, I think that question, is there anything else you add to that question?
Also, to touch upon what you just said, you don't necessarily need to cook at home. Like if you go out in England especially, you do have macros on quite a lot of meals out. Yeah, it won't be accurate. I feel like that's a good substitution of what you can do in an improvement season, where you can be a little bit more flexible with your foods. Technically, in a dieting phase, maybe not so much, depending on obviously how strict you want to be with the diet. But you go to Wagamama's, you've got the macros, protein, fats, carbs. Again, yeah, depending on the portion size on that given day, it's going to vary a little bit. But it's always an option. And then the third thing that I would say here as well is, if you genuinely do not want to do that, like if you don't want to go off plan, don't. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of like people are going to be like, oh, but you need to compromise in a relationship. Absolutely. And I do feel like there are certain occasions where you don't know, I don't know, it's like a birthday, or it's genuinely like an evening out or something that you've had planned for ages, or it is giving back to that person. But if it's like an everyday sort of thing, and I've definitely been there in the past where I felt guilty for wanting to stick to plan, because my ex-boyfriend would not like that at all. And he would get annoyed at me tracking all the time. And I was just like, well, that's what you want to do. I don't have anything against that. I'm not asking you to not do it. Same goes for me. Like I'm allowed to be tracking my foods because that's what I want to do, sort of thing. So instead of telling your partner, I have to meal prep and I have to eat these foods, say it's what I want to do. Like it's what's making me feel better.
And at the end of the day, the way I see things as well is that if you're married or you're with this partner, that if they're going to understand, you know, if that's what you want to do, and they're with you for who you are, then they'll understand, you know, they'll accept that, you know. Yeah. And at the same time, one thing I would say is what you just said there, say the opposite. If you want to go off plan, you can fucking do it as well. You don't have to always be on plan, you know? You can just go, oh, you know what, I'm just going to have a fucking meal with the missus. I'm just going to eat whatever she wants. One meal, if you had that one meal every single week, it's 4 meals across a month, and you have 5 meals a day and 99.9% of everything else is on plan, that's fucking still way above. And this is what we talk about when it comes to our versions of perfect. Is so much better than 99% of people. Like, you realise that. That's one thing that's really, really important, is that because when you are 100%, you're like, okay, I need to be 100%. But also, if you was 90%, that's far fucking greater than so many other people. And that's still fucking so good enough. Yeah. And this is the problem nowadays that we have with this industry, is that if someone goes off plan, it's deemed, or someone doesn't follow their diet, it's seemed as like a failure, and people should feel really bad about it and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, if you look at everyone else in this fucking world, I go shopping last night and there's people down the frozen section buying fucking bird's eye fish fingers and shit like that. That is just normal. You get people in the supermarkets that pick up food and they don't give a fuck what the labels say. They're going to eat it. And notice how most people are down the unhealthy fucking ready meal section and all that bullshit. But at the end of the day, if you're having 1 or 2 meals off plan each week, you're still doing better than 95% of the fucking people in this world, and probably 95% better than most bodybuilders, because half the bodybuilding industry is a joke, in my opinion, when it comes to it. So even if you have 1 or 2, it doesn't make you a bad bodybuilder, you know, it doesn't make you not want it as much. those people that religiously follow the plan all the fucking time, I promise you they're going to be a lot more miserable than the people who go, oh, fuck it, this and that. I promise you that.
And if anything as well, like I always say, what's going to get you the most progress is if you stick to it for the longest period of time, because progress does take time. And if you're going to be one of these people that's like so compulsively in bodybuilding and it's making you unhappy because you're wanting to do things but you're telling yourself you can't, then you're going to fall out of love with it, because you are going to reach a level of burnout. And Absolutely. I've definitely seen so many people do that, whereas us, we are flexible, like maybe not so in a dieting phase, but that is only temporary for us, and we do other things then to substitute for the maybe activities that we'd miss surrounding food. We'll go to Ninja Warrior, or we'll go shopping together, or we'll do just fun things. But what I'm trying to say is that in an off-season setting, every single week we'll go and have sushi together, because it's just what we like to do. And does that mean we are making less progress than anyone else? Absolutely not, because it's actually allowed us to stick in an off-season for a long, and just in bodybuilding in general, for a long period of time, and absolutely love it. So like George says, if you want to, obviously go for it. There's always going to have to be a balance there. Don't go for it every single day with every single meal, but if you just have like 1 or even 2 meals at times per week, like that genuinely is going to probably do you more good than harm in an off-season
especially if your goal was to be, I want to be an IFBB pro, the best in the world. Sure, there's an element of sacrifice that needs to be there, but if you're just an average fucking gym goer that just wants to enjoy the gym, make some sort of progress, then when I was younger, I used to at uni have 4 double fucking cheeseburgers every single week, sometimes twice a week, and I made phenomenal amounts of progress. You know, fucking some people just need to chill out a little bit. They generally do. I only tell myself that, to be honest.
Literally. And I think as well, like this advice goes to people that do have a good relationship with food, by the way, because if your relationship with food is poor and you're either restricting yourself or you're binging, then that's a whole other story. And I would highly advise you to go get therapy for that, because I've definitely been in positions where I myself would either really restrict or binge eat. You know, so just as a little side note, and again, this comes the inner therapist, and you're always like, fuck this, fuck that. But no, seriously, like that's a completely different story.
Move on to the next question.
Next question.
Anything you've struggled to communicate, even if you know they will support you and understand you? So there's anything that you've ever, like, you know, I'm going to support you with every decision that you make, but there's anything, I don't know, because I'm trying to think about that one as well. I've read that a few times now, and I was unsure. I think the main one that I would say in my previous relationship, this was to my previous partner who didn't go to the gym. She wouldn't ever understand me going. I used to always struggle saying, like, I'm going to the gym, but my gym sessions are going to be at least 2 hours. And she wouldn't, like, even though she would support and let me do what I wanted, she was just like, you spend 3 hours in the gym, like. And I used to kind of almost like, fucking hell, like, struggle to sort of like communicate that. Because if I was going, let's say, to, I don't know, Ultraflex Rotherham, and I was travelling like an hour and a half, like an hour and a half to go to the gym, like, really? Even though she was fine with it at the end of the day, it was just kind of like, okay, like, I'm probably not going to do that because she's probably going to comment on it or something like that. But I think that's the only thing that I could personally think of. Is there anything that is that the right answer? I don't even know. That's the only thing that sprung to my head.
I know exactly what I have with you.
Go on then.
I really struggle, and they'll probably sound bad on the podcast if it's not as bad. We're going
to fall out then.
No, I really struggle to communicate with you sometimes when I'm struggling. Yes. Like if I'm having a doubtful day, or if I'm having like...
I'm the same, to be honest, actually, as I think about it now.
If I'm having like a thought where, you know, I'm doubting my potential, or maybe my diet isn't... I don't know, I just really struggle to speak to you, I think, because you are such a bodybuilder through and through, where you just like, get up, get on with it. And even though I know you won't be, and there have been so many situations where you are literally the person that just brings me up and makes me believe in myself, sometimes because I see how you are with yourself and how you approach yourself, I'm like, oh, I better not say anything because I'll appear weak. But I know that's just a me issue. It's not necessarily like a you issue, or like how you approach me. It's just kind of like, I don't want to... It comes with the whole, like, I'm an independent female sort of thing. I don't like asking for help. Yeah. But I don't think that just goes to George. I think it goes to just anyone, really. I don't like asking for help.
I would say the same with you when it comes to when I'm struggling. I don't want to come across like I'm struggling. Like, I have a huge ego sometimes that I try and not, like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, I try and bring down, because I'm like, okay, I might have a day where I'm really struggling on my diet, but I don't want to come across like I'm a weaker person, like I'm actually having a bad day, because I feel like you know, for example, like I've dieted for 37 weeks in a contest prep. You know, me doing a 12-week diet is a piece of piss, but I have moments where I'm like, oh, actually today's quite a bit of a struggle in terms of my mental well-being or my hunger or whatever it may be. But I'm like, it's fucking 12 weeks, George. You've done 37 weeks, well, you need to shut the fuck up. So I just kind of like keep quiet about it. But then obviously the effect that I have is that you notice that I'm in the bad mood,
the thing
or
with
you pick
George
up on
is
these sort of
if
things.
he doesn't say it, like that doesn't matter because the whole world knows anyway. And I don't think you realize it, like your energy that you give off is so apparent. Like I just know when something's wrong. Like notice how every single time something's been wrong, I just know. And yeah, I see that a lot in you. I feel like we're very similar in that sense where we just don't like to appear like we're struggling, and that's why we hold it in. So I guess that's the only thing. But apart from that, I'm a very upfront, honest person. Like if I Sorry,
I was going to ask you, what advice would you give to people then when it comes to them sort of like struggling to communicate these things, even though they know that their partner will support them regardless?
Address your own issues of why you're doing that. For me, it's what makes me behave this way sort of thing. Like, why are you like this? And I know a lot of mine stems from childhood and how I would be around my parents. And I always was like a, again, people pleaser, high achiever, because I knew my parents would be very, very proud of me when I was like that. So now I struggle to let go of that persona. So I, like, for me, it's nothing to do with you, but for me, it's bringing down those barriers. I guess what I would require from you is like no negative reactions if I do say something like that, because I know sometimes you're just like, oh, here we go again. And I'm thinking like, oh, come on, like I'm trying to bring my walls down here, and then but I know you don't mean it in a malicious way. But sometimes like he does it even like in a jokey way. Like you'll I know, it'll be half joke, half serious. You sometimes banter in the wrong time, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna punch you in a second. So that's one thing I would say is always look at yourself first before you try and change your partner, because the one thing that you can do is change yourself, but you can't change another person. So if you want to be truly happy, and I'm actually reading a book, it's called How to Be the Love That You Seek. So good. So good. And when it comes to that,
after you. I think my one stems down to my dad is a very old-fashioned person in the sense that, you know, a man is a man, and showing like feelings and emotions back in the day wasn't really necessarily a thing. So for example, when I was younger, I never wanted to come across to my dad as I was a weak person, because I always got rewarded for being good and being positive or doing well, that when I didn't do well, I never got rewarded for that. So for me, trying to express when I'm actually struggling is actually a huge struggle element that I've never been able to express, because I never got rewarded for that, or I used to get told off for doing something which was maybe a mistake, or maybe I wasn't in a good headspace at the time, but I wouldn't get like the right sort of treatment for that in that moment. It was kind of like, you haven't done this, haven't done that, when in reality is it was just a little mistake. I'm like, right, okay, I can't show that I'm weak, so I'm either gonna lie about it and not say anything at all, or I'm going to pretend everything's okay when really it isn't okay. So I think that's where it stems from for me. So Vicky's absolutely spot on. It's like, it's a you issue. It's something that you need to address, and I think that's really important as to figuring out what exactly has caused you to behave in that sort of way.
Unless it is an issue that stems from your partner, like they're a narcissist or they're abusive, in which case, like, don't walk, run. Like, don't walk, but run from that relationship, because unless they realize it and do a lot of internal self-work, they will always bring you down. Always. You know.
Yeah, that was a good question actually. I like that one. Thank you for the answer. Thank you for the question. So the next one is actually involving prep, and that's the lack of a libido on a prep is a big one, I'd say. It affects both parties in the relationship. So this is obviously something that we've gone through as well. Obviously, as you may not be aware, when you do go down to, you know, very low levels of body fat and you do diet for a very long period of time, your body kind of almost wants to shut down on you, right? You know, it's kind of like a survival mechanism. So especially like libido, for example, you know, your body can survive without having sex, right? Simple as that. Whereas it adds more focus, I would say, onto trying to survive each day.
The best way I would describe it is if you are very low body fat percentages, like for example, as a female, your body does not want to reproduce during that time, right? The whole reason why libido is high is because our bodies are telling us to reproduce. That's why females tend to get hornier around their ovulation when they release their egg. Same goes with males, right? When they're, for example, very, very lean, think about like their maybe sperm count is going to be low. Like, and again, you know, hormones are produced through cholesterol, body fat is going to play a contributor to that. So like you very much said, so you know, it is going to drop, or it can drop. It doesn't always, and that's what happened in our scenario. So mine libido was absolutely fine throughout prep. Yours dropped completely.
Completely gone.
I feel like it happened at a very weird time in our relationship because we were still fairly new, I would say. You know, you're still going through that phase where you're like rabbits, basically. And I was like, he doesn't love me. I was like, he doesn't fancy me anymore. And this was at a time where I lost my ass and I lost my boobs again because I got so lean. And I was just like, and he preferred me when I was chunkier and etc, etc. But then I actually took a step back and I put my like science cap on, because of course I know the actual like repercussions of why you're feeling the way that you are. But I feel like when you're emotionally involved with someone, it's so much harder. So girls or guys, listen to this. If your partner's libido is low, first things first is communicate, speak about how you are feeling, and always say, like, don't. So if I sat down with George and I was like, you make me feel this way when, like, don't, because you're attacking that person straight away. Say, I feel this way when, and that's such a better form of communication. So I feel self-conscious when you, for example, reject me when we're in bed, when we're kissing, or I feel upset when you don't give me affection back. Because when George hears that, he's like, okay, well, this person's feeling this way. I'll communicate my thoughts and my feelings surrounding that situation or that specific scenario, and then you come to a compromise. So okay, maybe that partner, like especially men, it's so hard to get a boner, like hard to get a boner. So it's not like they don't want to, but they'll struggle to get the energy to do that, you know.
I've been there before where I've really, like, guys will probably relate to this, obviously, where I've really sort of sat there and like really thought about trying to get a boner, like really trying to go on, like really try and like do what I can. Like I'm just trying to close my eyes and think about getting a boner. And the sad reality is like you just can't. And if you do, it's like a soft, again, fellas will relate to this. It's kind of like maybe females actually, if you touch your guy's cock and you might be, oh, that's hard, but it feels a bit floppy. It's like a soft boner. It's not like a proper boner, and it'll go down like in seconds if not anything's done to it. Sorry, I can't put this as child friendly on the old fucking YouTube channel anymore. Sorry guys, but yeah, that's kind of the best way to sort of explain it. And yeah, it becomes a bit more of like, the reality is, it's like you want to eat. You're like, okay, I prefer to eat than do this right now because I want the fuel. You know, I want to do it, but I'm just like, oh, I haven't got the energy. I haven't got the desire to fucking, you know, rip your clothes off and take you upstairs and. Like sorry.
No,
sorry.
But the
what's
thing
this turning into? Fuck
that's it's not that don't say that. But when you say I don't have, oh sorry, I touched your mic. When you say I don't have the desire to rip your clothes off, I'm just telling you straight up in a girl's head that's going to be like, he doesn't fancy me.
Yeah.
I think the right way to communicate with it is from like what we did was a science point of view. Right, I am feeling this way because my hormones are low at the moment. I love you so much, and I am going to show you I love you in so many different ways, and make an active effort to do that, because just because you've been on prep or you've decided to go on prep, it's not your partner's fault, and they are not obliged to support you through it. The fact that they do is a privilege for you, and how lucky you are to have that partner first and foremost. And also remember that if you can't provide in that sort of way, get your girl some flowers. I don't know, cook a nice meal for your partner, like give back, because you do, like, the way that I see it, right, is if you have the energy to do 70 minutes of cardio, to do 15,000 steps, to get a gym session done, you have energy to go to the shop and get you girl some flowers. I'm sorry, but that's just how I see it, you know? And if it was you, for example, if I've got the energy to go do my cardio, go do my steps, my session, meal prep all my food, do all I need to do when it comes to work, I have got time to give back to you because you are the most important person in my life. And I think that's just the way that should be viewed. So communication, find compromises. Okay, I might not be able to do this right now, but this is what we're going to do, sort of thing. And then the third thing that I would just say is remember that it is a temporary phase, and remember that it is, in the grand scheme, only a couple of weeks in the
it varies obviously from person to person. You know, some people keep the libido, some people lose it 8 weeks out, 6 weeks out, 4 weeks out. It's very, very difficult to actually put a time frame on it because everyone's very different. So it is very temporary.
You can please them in different ways as well, but maybe...
Yeah, you know, that aspect maybe, like, I mean, we'll be honest here, you know, I think in our prep we went without sex for like 2 months, probably, maybe something like that. Longer than that, maybe 3 months actually, which is a very long time when you actually put it on the grand scheme of things. And at the same time, one other thing to mention as well is that, you know, actually weigh the pros and cons of this, because if your partner's severely affected by you doing that, is it and it's actually really impacting your life, your day-to-day life, the relationship itself, is it actually worth stepping on stage in a fucking pair of thongs or a bikini, for example, just to be judged by other people, to look a certain way, to get a little shitty trophy at the end of it that's just going to be sat up there that I barely look at anymore, for 15 minutes of your life that you're up there for? Is it actually worth it? That's the question that I would ask as well. That's one thing that you have to... Now, it's very hard to tell someone that who's 4 weeks out right now and loves bodybuilding and wants to commit to it, is it actually worth it? But at the same time, like, actually deliberate that as well, because if you come out of your relationship, like, a successful prep, in my opinion, is coming out the other side of a relationship with your partner and you've actually improved your relationship. It's got better. Stronger. You coming out the other end of your relationship and you're borderline broken up and it's fucking torture and it's the worst 6 months of your life. That is not, in my opinion, it's not worth a prep. It's not worth prepping if I'm going to come out at the end of a relationship and our relationship is going to be worse. It just isn't. No. So be realistic here in terms of, if you was a fucking top Olympian again, I maybe understand a little bit, potentially.
I'll touch upon that, because I did actually speak to a pro athlete, and I won't say any names, but they were saying how, like, even so far into their bodybuilding, they're realising that the prep is actually not worth it. Yeah. It's actually not worth it. And they're a pro level athlete. You know, they're competing in huge shows and they're actually like, it's impacting my personal life too much to be doing it for this. And I understand there's always going to be a level of sacrifice. Yep. And obviously I'm at a low level in bodybuilding right now. I can't talk much on how I'm going to be further down the line. But at the same time, bodybuilding does have a shelf life. Yep. And I said this to George when actually he went on assistance and he started becoming a little bit of, I say a little bit, you became an absolute dickhead. I just did not like being around you. You were so cocky, so arrogant. Just not you. It wasn't you. Yeah, it just wasn't you. But I said to George, like, look, it's not me giving you an ultimatum, but I can't be around this because it's making my life miserable and unhappy. Like, I'm being belittled. I'm not being put first in situations where I need your support and I need you to be there as my partner.
We had to pause it there, long story short, because we see the DPD. We were waiting for a DPD fucking order for all morning, and it was coming the time that we normally record the podcast, which is between 12 and 1. So you may have noticed a bit of a pause there. Long story short, the fucking door went. The dogs were going to go mad. You know, the typical shit that happened there. So we do apologise if there was a bit of a pause in that podcast. But we were saying about the element of me being a dickhead when going on assistance and how it made you sort of feel and stuff like that.
But we communicated eventually. Yeah, eventually. After weeks and months. Yeah. We eventually did come to a communication that, you know what, okay, you may reach a pro level physique, you may get a pro card, but then what? Like, but then what? Because you're going to reach that pro card, like, eliminate everyone from your life, like, as a byproduct of you getting this sort of thing. And then what? Like, who have you got to celebrate that with? When you can achieve those things while still nurturing the people, like, in the relationships around you. I don't know, that's just my value.
I'll use myself as an example here as well. Back in my first ever prep when I was living at home, and I just completely shut off my parents. I completely didn't communicate. I completely blamed everything on them for how I was feeling. I was very stroppy. Like, if you spoke to my mum, if we ever do a podcast with, like, our family members, I'll mention my mum about my prep in 2019, and she'll say, yeah, I didn't bother talking to you.
Yeah, she says that to me.
And I look back now and I think, why the fuck did I behave like that? Why the fuck did I allow my relationship with my mum at the time to be ruined because I was being selfish enough? Because she didn't understand the bodybuilding lifestyle. She didn't understand why. She used to cuddle me and go, oh, you're feeling skinny. Well, she still does now, doesn't she? She cuddled me when we asked, went home, she, oh, you're feeling a bit skinnier. You're looking a bit skinnier.
And George just looks over me like...
Brilliant. Yeah, they never really, until they came to my bodybuilding shows and they saw more of it, they understood the lifestyle a bit more. But I look back and the way I treated my parents and the way I behaved, was fucking stupid, because family was always going to be a huge #1 priority, and it should be in most people's life, in my opinion.
And they're not to blame for your hunger or your tiredness as well.
Yeah, but I look back and I think I've massively I massively in that time ruined my relationship with my mum by the way I was behaving, and it just wasn't worth it. Like, as much as I wanted to prep and step on stage and present what I wanted, looking back, the way I was behaving was not acceptable at all. And when you really deep it, fucking BNBF fucking second place Southerns in juniors versus relationship with my mum and my parents. Fucking family all day long.
But you can do the two.
You can do the two,
You can do
yeah.
the two. You just need to actually take a step back and change your mindset completely.
100%.
I agree.
100%. So, yeah, Libido is I know we've gone on to many different things there when it comes to that, but yeah, #1 thing, communicate 100% when it comes to that. I've got quite a long one here, which...
do you want to read it?
Me trying to read it, I'm a bit disabled when it comes to that. So trying to read things is just like...
I do think you've got dyslexia.
And you won't even be able to understand what I've said, so it'd be totally pointless. So Vicky's going to read it out for you.
Used to struggle when dating my future wife with the fact she had zero understanding of the lifestyle that comes with the gym, even though she had/has such a strong willpower, dedication, discipline in her career. She couldn't make the link between her having that feeling for her work and me having that feeling for the gym. And I couldn't understand how she couldn't understand my feelings, although I was never going to be stepping on stage or platform. It took years for us to, apparently I can't read either. It took years for us to find the right balance where our individual desired lifestyles meshed properly. Now I'm getting workouts, nutrition in, but still leaving room for our collective lifestyle, eating out and doing social things. Don't get me wrong, there is plenty more to the story, but at a high level we just need to take the time to understand one another better, and over time we did just that. So I think this is a beautiful story that actually highlights you will struggle with it. You will struggle with it, but you can come out the other end stronger. And the one thing that was really important for me to realize, and it's not just relating to bodybuilding, but just life in general, is that you will never, ever, ever find a perfect person, because your perfect is going to be stemming from exactly how you have been brought up in your childhood. And there's no single person that's been brought up the same. And even like twins, for example, George is a twin, I can guarantee you and your sister were not brought up the same, with the same, like, not level of respect, but the same attitude from your dad. Like, your dad's going to be different towards your sister compared to you. Same with your mum.
Yep.
No, me and my sister, there's a 9-year age gap. So even I can't compare like her values and how she is with mine. So what I'm trying to say is, when you are in a relationship as an adult, you need to stop trying to change the person to accommodate for your needs completely. Because I used to be so guilty of that. Like, these are my needs and you need to fit them. Like, period, blank. And if you don't, see you later. Like, bye, I don't want you around, sort of thing. And then I actually realized that this was becoming a pattern in my behavior with men. Like, if there was something that would give me the ick, or there's something I didn't like, or it was just a straight up bye, like, I don't want to be with you, sort of thing. And what I'm trying to say is, like, I will never ever understand someone fully, because their childhood and how they've been brought up is going to be completely different to mine. But that's not to say that is wrong. You know, there are certain things that I've brought in from my childhood that are completely incorrect and I want to change. I think it's reaching a level of self-awareness that, you know what, I might not understand you, you might not understand me, but it's not about understanding fully. It's about just mutual respect and being like, this is the person that I love and I want them to be happy, and this thing makes them happy. And even if I don't understand it, okay, so be it. Because it's going to be the same for me. So I kind of get what this guy's saying. You know, it is that frustration of like, why can't you understand it? Because I can understand it from your perspective. But I think sometimes people might not be there when it comes to their emotional development just yet for them to let that thing go. Especially, and I don't mean to generalize, but I do find that females like to share the same interests with their partner, or like their partner to like the same things as them.
Yeah, I agree.
So for example, if I watch something on Netflix and George doesn't like, I'm like, how would you not like it?
Yeah.
Like, you need to like it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas he doesn't, you know?
Yeah. Love Island being an example. The last sort of 5 years, I've gone, oh, fucking Love Island, reality TV is fucking shit. And it is a pile of shit, to be honest with you, but since you've been, I know you watch it, I've been loving it. You know, so that's definitely something that I agree. Yeah, you know, same like the supermarket situation as well you mentioned. I never understand how anyone goes down the frozen section or the ready meal section and buys like a ready meal fucking microwave spag bowl. Don't understand it. How the fuck can you do that? Just make your own. It's going to be much healthier. It's not going to be processed shit. I know, I'm terrible, and I'm not willing to change that. I'm just not. And that's fine. But I've accepted that people want to do that.
Yeah, but the thing is with George, sometimes he'll see things that infuriate him so much. He's like, I don't get why people do that, and gets really wound up. And I'm just like, but you not understanding something that other people are doing that they're not going to change is only impacting your life.
Yeah.
So I think like this is what I've come to terms with. Like me not understanding why George, I don't know, wears odd socks, and that's pissing me off
socks right now. Yeah.
Like, that's only going to impact my life. And I think sometimes communicating that with your partner, like, look, you may not understand. I'm not expecting you to understand. Frankly, I don't want you to understand, but just know that this is what I love to do, and this is what makes me a happy person and me a better partner for you. I think that's a really good way of communicating that sort of aspect of things.
Yeah.
And also, again, another book I was reading, I think it's the same one. It must have been a quote, but relationships aren't about you teaching another person to love you. They're about you teaching yourself on how to love yourself. You know,
that's
I like that.
That's a good end to that question, I think. The majority of the rest of the questions are pretty much what we've answered, but just in different sort of ways. I don't know if you've got any other questions. I've got some basic sort of questions that people have asked us, like, are we excited to prep together next year?
I'm nervous. I'll be honest with you. I'm nervous. I think the last prep went so well, but at the same time, I'm going to out myself here. At the same time, we were so new in the relationship that I was like, a lot of the time I will bite my tongue.
Yeah.
Whereas now I don't feel like I bite my tongue as much. And I'm like, if I don't like something, I'm like, George, got to tell you. And obviously the other aspect of it that does worry me a little bit is you are assisted now, and I appreciate in a prep there is an element of assistant escalation, and last time you didn't respond to that very well, so that is another anxiety of mine. So I think a lot of mine is surrounding like the things that again are out of my control. But I like knowing.
You like being in, Vicky likes to be in control.
Yeah, I just like knowing and making sure everyone's safe and everyone's okay and everyone's going to be happy. But in reality, I just know that's not going to happen. So that's just something I need to take day by day sort of thing. So. Yeah.
And it makes sense for us to compete at the same sort of time as well, because you know, reality is if I compete next year and Vicky competes the week after, the year after, then you know, that's 2 years essentially of our life that we're going to miss out on there. It just doesn't make sense, you know. I would much rather share my experience and, you know, travel abroad and do these things than do these things sort of together with you than me do it on my own. I see a lot of people prep and, you know, their partners prep the year after. I just think, fuck that, like,
that must be hard, to be fair.
I want us to be in the same sort of boat. Like, we diet together. We obviously, I'm finishing my diet a little bit earlier, but I'm still going to be dieting in that sense. I'm not going to go completely off plan. We're in a surplus together. We go on holiday and have breaks together. If Vicky's not tracking, chances are I'm not going to track. If I'm not tracking, you're not going to track. That's we're going to go to a restaurant and we normally buy the same thing. I don't go for a salad and then you go and get a burger and chips. No, we get probably the same thing, which is sushi anyway, isn't it?
Sushi. And I think that leads nicely onto the question of how to support your partner on prep. Yeah,
so this one's always a difficult one because especially if someone doesn't understand what they're going through, like, oh, you're going to low body fat, and why are you getting down really low and doing this sort of torture to yourself just to look a certain way? Obviously, that's a very sort of tricky behaviour. I think the thing that I would do is just like ask, what can I do? What can I do for you?
Yes, that's literally the good question.
That's literally all I would ask is like, what can I do for you right now which is going to help you?
Yeah, just like, how do you want me to support you? How do you want me to help you? Because again, every person's going to be different. Like George, for example, when he's struggling, you just need space. So I know that when George goes through his prep and he's snappy, that is just my cue to exit. Yeah, like just give him time and then he'll calm down and he'll come back and you'll just be fine.
That's it.
Whereas me, what I require is when I'm having a down moment, I need you to cuddle me and tell me everything's okay.
And that's what I struggle with, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I do.
Hell, yeah.
Because that's not my I know, but that's never been like growing up. That's never been my normal way of doing it. I've had to kind of like, okay, fucking crack on, shut up sort of mentality.
But my normal way is not leaving things there, because usually when I have an issue and if he's snappy, I'm just like, you ready for my mouth? Yeah. But I leave it. I'm just like, right, okay, settle down, go. And it feels so unnatural. But again, if you're going to support a partner, that's kind of what you do. So even before prep starts, I would not leave this until like the later stages of prep when the rational thinking isn't there. But I would say step one is going to be ask them what they require when they are struggling, how they want you to be around them in prep. For example, some people are not bothered. Obviously, there's going to be a level of food focus further down the line, but some people aren't bothered about other people having off-plan meals in front of them. Some people are. So again, just ask them, would you, if I'm having like a meal that you may be craving, would you like me to have that like elsewhere? Or again, and then actually you yourself communicate what you need from them. Like if you're going into prep, look, this is just what I would ask for you. So our relationship, like I'm feeling good just as much as you are feeling good. I would say as well, plan weekly dates. Even if they're not feeling up for it, maybe just be like very mindful with what the dates are. A coffee and a walk is always like a good one.
Do something actually which is contributing towards their goals as well. Not okay, let's go out to a restaurant and try and fit in a meal. You know, like you said, going for a coffee and a walk, you can get your steps in. We can go for a coffee. It's fucking nice outside, maybe, and you know, actually do something that's contributing towards their goals. You know, rather than trying to do the opposite, if that makes sense.
And if their love language is acts of service, then I would try and get them like either a gift card or like something that will contribute to their prep, because prep is so expensive. So even if like, I don't know, their birthday is around that time, maybe get them like, I don't know, their tan, like a gift card for the tan, or like a gift card for their bikini or trunks or something. Because then what you're doing is you're giving them a present that's going to contribute towards their goals. And I think that's a nice thing to do as well. Like when I was prepping in 2022, my whole family for Christmas, I had a gift card for my posing shoes, I had a gift card for my bikini, and I was just like, oh, my family cares so much. And that makes you, again, when you feel a sense of they support me with this idea of what I'm doing, then it makes you feel like you want to engage these people more in your life and go through that. And then also,
another thing I thought of was like actually offer to maybe meal prep their food for them.
Oh no, I would hate that.
Yeah, I would hate that.
I trust you, but I do feel like when we were first dating, I was like, I am not letting anyone touch my food. Season it, look at it, spit in it, nothing.
Presentation on the bowl.
Presentation, which spoon I'm using.
Vicky gave me a bollocking the other week because I fucking mixed her rice and green beans together. Which she wanted it separate.
I was like, I like to have it separate. But the thing is, that's what prep gets to. But again, look, babe, I like this separate. And what's happened? It's been done separate. And what's happening today? It's going to be done.
I did it separate last time, didn't I? I was like, I'm not going to make that fucking mistake again. Jesus Christ. The other one that I did back in 2022 when it was my show day is we stayed in the Airbnb, I made you a fucking Epsom salt bath and made it really bubbly for you. I just said, look, you go chill out for a little bit. Everything's going to be okay. Put your feet up. I bought maybe a candle or so. I was like, just chill out and fucking, you know, put your feet up. So little things like that is again another great option. Yeah, go on.
Okay, so last question of this podcast is, do you think training is a good way to spend time with your partner? And if you ended up training separately because of different training plans, how would that sort of work?
Go on then.
I've got an answer for this. It all depends on how you approach the gym. So if George was the type to just chat in the gym all the time and mess about and be all flirty with me and, you know, just be like jokey, I would be like, don't bother training with me. Because I like to go in, I like to do my thing. It's like my 2 hours where I work towards my goals. I have a certain mindset of like going into the gym. And if George was going to take away from that, I think it would cause more aggravation than absolutely anything. Also, if too much emotion is involved in a session and both of you are too like emotionally involved in it and something goes wrong and it ruins the other person's session because you can't control your emotions, again, it's a complete no-go. I feel like what we do is absolutely perfect. So our splits are completely different. I train legs 4 times a week.
I certainly don't.
George certainly doesn't. He does it once a week, and we actually have that one training session together, which is nice. We get along usually 85% of the time. And then apart from that, we go to the gym at the same time because that's just our routine. But we don't speak. We go in, have a good session, and then we'll speak after. Yeah,
we'll come over here and there and have a chat or like a spot, but we don't really do too much like talking because I fucking can't stand when people talk to me 15 minutes.
No,
and you can't.
We're on the same wavelength when it comes to that. I feel like
we need.
But if it was, sometimes like when I train with people and it turns into like a chitty chatty session, and I can't get my head focused, I feel like I've not trained, and I really don't like that.
Yeah.
I really don't like that feeling. So that's why I don't train very often with people, and I leave the socialising to another time.
Yep.
So I think training with your partner isn't bad, and we've proven that we can absolutely do that. And there was a time where I was following figure split, and it was pretty much the same as yours.
Yeah.
And that was sound, like it was great. Fab, spotting each other, like headphones on. We have our headphones on. Is that actually, what do you think about headphones on during a training session when you're training with someone?
Not a problem.
Not a problem. So
yeah, not a problem.
That's fine. I would just say, like, just manage your expectations of what you're trying to get out of it. And if you're noticing that you are bickering way more than you are actually enjoying it, again, just leave it at that. Don't train together. Don't speak in the gym.
I'll just try and keep your personal aspect of things out of those sort of things. Because I don't believe actually you, and we fucking need to take that advice, don't we? Jesus Christ. Yeah. But I don't believe that going to the gym is spending time with your partner, because it isn't really, like, the gym is sort of my time, the gym is your time, and it's your goals, what you want to do, how you want to spend your time in the gym is down to you. So yeah, I don't think, unless it's like a leg day where we're both trained together, we're both on the same sort of wavelength, then yeah, you know, our Saturday session that we do together is us spending some time together, because we do have a chat, we do spot each other, we're there pretty much throughout the whole sort of session. But when, like I said to you earlier, when you're on legs and I'm on push and I'm on the other side of the gym and I just wave to you, that's not us spending time together, is it? Let's be honest.
And I also find that before you, of course, before I knew you,
here we fucking go. What are you gonna say?
And I used to train with like guys. If they
what are you saying then?
If I got invited on like a gym date, which I would go to because I did not know you and I did not know you were going to be the love of my life, blah blah blah.
You make up for it.
Yeah, see, I can work my magic, but if a guy would speak to me, I would actually get the ick. I would actually leave, but I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't do this. Don't like it, didn't have a good session. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Delete, block.
Or the girl, I'm training with a girl, like, we want to train legs, and they're like, okay, I'm going to start doing like fucking glute med, fucking banded walks, or like have a dumbbell here and like lie on the side and just fucking do that. I'm thinking, nah, you're getting binned off, love.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
It's just personal preference, isn't it? It's just not for me. I just don't like chatting too much. Talk to me outside of it. Outside of it, as you can probably see by these podcasts, I do not stop talking, but just in the gym, that's my time.
Yeah, don't talk to Vickis in the gym. She'll get pissed off, trust me. So I think we've been going on for, I don't even know how long there, but I think that is a good end to the podcast, to be honest with you. If you are watching or listening to this point, please tag us in your stories. It's greatly appreciated. It gets the podcast out there, and it shows us that you have obviously watched it, which we're very grateful for. Any final words from the Vic star?
No, just thank you so much, because we were actually very spontaneous with this podcast. It was literally last week. I didn't even tell George we are going to start this podcast. I just put it on my story and I was like, by the way, we're starting a podcast. And the amount of like love and just positive feedback that we got from it, minus the 1-star review on Spotify, whoever that was, fuck you. But yeah, no, I'm joking. Apart from that, it's been absolutely, no, I'm not. But it's been absolutely amazing, and it's been really good for us as well, because it does help a lot of people. Just having like, it's almost like a chit chat. And if you're watching cardio as well,
oh, it kills a bit of time, don't it? You know, fucking staring at a blank wall when the cardio is fucking shit, innit? So if we can, you know, give you a little bit of value, but also make you chuckle and make time go by quicker. Yeah,
this one was a little bit serious. Next time will be funnier.
Nah, I want a mixture of both, I think. Guys, let us know your thoughts, obviously. Drop us a DM or comment on the video or whatever. Let us know your thoughts on the actual poddy itself. But yeah, I think we're going to have a few guests on over the next sort of couple of weeks, which will be good. If you want anyone else on specifically, actually we've not announced the guest yet, but if you want anyone on, drop us a DM and we'll try and get it sorted as well. Yeah, of course. So please please share, subscribe obviously on the old YouTube channel, and we will see you guys next week with the next topic, which I can't remember what it is now. Surprise. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Remember. Yeah, we can't remember. We don't know what it is yet.